All right, we back.
We're back. Is this it? We're starting?
We're starting.
Okay.
I was going to ask Kurt
Recording.
like how like the registration went. Oh, there's a lot more catching up to do. All right. Well, stay hydrated, guys. Welcome to Tacos with
Yeah,
Friends.
we're here. We back now. All right, yeah. Tacos with Friends podcast at gmail.com.
At G Money's house.
Tacos with Friends podcast on Instagram. I haven't posted.
We have
it.
an IG.
Yeah, we have an Instagram page.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do we get any good like sultry photos?
No,
we
I
need,
haven't put
We
anything
need
up.
to get like an Instagram model to wear our Tacos with Friends merch.
Okay.
Well,
We might
I'm
need
on
an
the lookout.
Instagram tag.
I'm
They
on the
gotta
lookout.
Get an Instagram tag first.
Well,
before we get an Instagram
well,
model.
we're accepting applications for Instagram
models
models, right?
And text
Yeah. What else? Tacos with Friend on Twitter.
on Twitter. Stay with it.
Yeah, check us out, and you could subscribe to us on Podbean if you're down with that kind of thing.
If you get down with the Podbeam, you can't access YouTube or any other of the more.
Oh yeah, we are on YouTube too.
and iTunes.
Yeah, and iTunes
And we're
and Google.
We're on Google. So
Yeah.
if you can't reach
Worldwide.
us through all of the normal, accessible, and easy ways,
Right.
you can really dig through. What is it?
Podbean.
Go through Podbean, guys.
Yeah, it's Podbean. Download. It's an app.
If you're in like Europe
It's an
and some
app.
shit, or if you're in China and they censor YouTube, I guarantee we're censored. Just go on
Yeah.
Podbean. It's an app.
Yeah, there you go. So Kurt's over here sipping on some Crown Royal Maple,
Kurt came here
Yes,
down
yes,
today.
yes.
which is disgusting.
That's awful.
No, you have to be a real man such as myself.
I thought,
I'm
you
not
were,
a-
I thought you were gonna keep it low
Crown
key.
Royal Maple is for real men.
So what you gonna get into tomorrow? Tomorrow is gonna be the main thing.
Tomorrow's a new day, Jim.
This is today.
You're right. Tomorrow's a different day. What you talking about, man?
Okay.
Get it in right now.
Oh gosh. All right. So special episode. This is like a movie review,
Oh
documentary.
yeah, I sure did. That's why I was late.
review.
I was because well, one, I knew Kurt. Where were you leaving from? Where were you at?
Well, I was just at my
In the
son's
Heights?
school, in the Heights. Yeah,
Because I was like,
church.
Kurt's it's gonna take him 20 minutes to get to my house. 20 minutes from my house to Greg's house. So it's like there's like a little bit of this Robin Williams thing left, and I stayed for the worst part. It was like the depressing, sad part.
Towards
I
the
could've-
end. Yeah.
where it's like just his brain going bad and shit.
So, well, I see. It's not so much a movie review.
Spoiler alert, by the way.
Robin Williams dies at the end.
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Right,
Sorry.
he dies at the end.
Sorry to spoil it.
But see, I kind of wanted to segue into depression. That's one thing because I read there's actually a book. It's called Robin. I think the guy who wrote it, I think his name is like Dave Itzkoff.
Okay.
And like when you read the book, it kind of says like Robin Williams. He said like he was an only child,
Yeah.
but it turns out he had like 2 half brothers.
Right, that his parents purposely hid from his
No,
life.
no, that's the thing. They weren't hidden. He knew about them.
No, he didn't.
They
He
came
knew-
in his
They came
life
like kind of
later.
later.
Later, but when
Right.
he was coming up as a child, all he knew was him by himself.
Right. And then they said like he would go in the attic and he would like play by himself.
Well, and one thing that I've always thought for a long time is like comedians in general, like with like me and my brother follow like the Joe Rogan all the time, and one thing like there's a common theme is you have to be crazy to be a comedian and to be interesting, like to be anybody that people want to like follow or be entertained by. There's something that you can't be a normal person.
Like most comedians are like depressed.
They're depressed and crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. But you got to have that don't give a fuck attitude is basically what it is. Because you being judged and you being criticized no matter what you do.
Well, that's the thing. Like the depression and the anxiety are one and the same. So I'm sure, like with comedian, like the high of being fulfilled and having like people laugh and all, you're an artist creating something that people are enjoying, and then the lows of maybe not being creative or not having people.
And then one heckler can get it.
One heckler.
Yeah, one heckler only takes one to either put you down or bring you up.
And so one thing in the documentary I was looking for, because I didn't read the book. I listened to the book. Who reads books anymore?
2018, guys.
Yeah, we do audiobooks now.
guys.
So I listened to the whole audiobook. And there was like certain things in that audiobook that weren't in the documentary. And it was saying like even though Robin Williams was successful, like right around like the early 80s, he was like he would always want to know, like he would get jealous of other comedians.
Oh, okay.
So like when Eddie Murphy was like at his peak, he was like jealous of him. Like when Jim Carrey was kind of coming up, he was like jealous of Jim Carrey. And basically it was like he thought they were taking his spot from him.
Right.
That sucks.
And they were saying like when Mork and Mindy kind of got canceled, he he basically he thought he only had a few movies, and one of the movies had to be a success, or he was gonna.
Well, I mean, he did say that in the documentary, and that is one thing I think it is true. Like, you could be loved one day and you have one bad movie, and next day, I think the way he said it is the next day people are saying, oh, actually, let me put you on hold. One day they're like, oh yeah, let's take you out on dinner, let's wine and dine you. The next day, actually, hold, let me wait a minute a sec. Exactly. It's one of those things where what have you done for me lately? It's just like anything. It's just how, are you relevant or not?
And it's just crazy because it's like Robin Williams. He was you would think a guy like him coming off of Mork and Mindy. He did Popeye.
Yeah,
he did Popeye.
I forgot that he was Popeye too.
I always remember that movie.
I always remember as a kid. I just never knew
that movie is terrible. Yeah, but you would think like a guy like him. You would think, man, this guy, he has the world by the balls.
Yeah.
Yep. Everyone's human, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing with depression and anxiety.
Exactly. And see, and watching that documentary, as I was looking at it, my question was it actually depression, or more so knowing that his stardom was dimming, knowing that all these up and coming comedians were starting to get more spotlight than him. Was he actually depressed because of mental issues, or just for the simple fact he knew he was about to be faded out? Because toward the end, as I'm watching the documentary, it seems like to me, the more and more he had questioned himself, the less he went home. You know what I'm saying? It's like he never wanted to go home.
But he was married 3 times.
Well, I think,
but he was married 3 times because he was never at home.
Well, no, his second wife
his second wife was like the same as his. Like he went through like the same pattern.
Like actually, his second wife. One thing that they said in the book, Mrs. Doubtfire, his second wife brought that to him.
Yeah,
she actually helped him pick out movies.
That's like what the first wife was saying that really she fell in love with was they would collaborate. Like he would bounce ideas off.
Right.
Of her.
Yeah.
It's the
with his first wife, Valerie. They did the exact same.
I think
thing.
if you look at it in the broader, it's the cyclical nature of life. It's like you have these highs and lows in life. The stages in your life. He went through the same thing with his wife. The young, lustful, all these dreams and stuff. She's helping him. He gets famous. Now all of a sudden, he's being managed. He dims out with her. Right. Now he finds a new girl. Finds a new girl who is more creative with him again. He gets that spark. It's just a whole cycle.
It's kind of like there was like a scene in there where he was some lady comedian. She was like, "Yeah, me and Robin were dating," and I asked him, "Hey, do you have a girlfriend?"
Right.
And he was like, "Nah, I don't have a girlfriend." And Jay Leno came up to him and was like, "Hey, man, I think you need to tell her, that you have a girlfriend." And they broke up, and they were like the next week he got married.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's that thing. It's like, I guess when you're a celebrity, it's that you that's that thing you feel like you can have everything. And
right,
you
but see, the thing is, with her, she said that she didn't mind. She
right, his first wife.
No, the girlfriend.
I think, but in the book, his first wife, she even said that she knew.
Yeah,
she knew that
she knew as long as he would come home.
Right,
exactly.
And I guess and like you said, Kurt, he didn't want to be home.
Well, I mean, I think that just shows like when you first start out, like you see it a lot with like celebrities and people like that, like their relationships when they were not as well known, and all of a sudden they blow up, and now everything is in front of them. They got every piece of pussy in the world, and now
everyday life. It's just like you struggling to working together. You and your partner. When y'all finally graduates or come up on a promotion, all of a sudden you got the big head and you better than what y'all came up together as. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, that's how relationships are, man.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter with this quote unquote celebrity status. People do it every day.
Because I can understand, like Robin Williams, he's probably sitting there and he's like, I'm taking care of you. This kind of reminds me of an Eminem song. I think it's like an Eminem song. I think it's a song Kim on the Marshall Mathers LP. And there's like one part where he's yelling at her and he's like, this TV, this whole house is mine. And it's like, yeah, you had my kids, but I'm kind of taking care of you.
But I mean,
I could do what I want to do.
That's not a good way to look at it, though, man. Because that's toxic.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a good way to look at it.
Exactly.
But I would almost guarantee you a lot of celebrities think that
and
way.
That's the problem.
A lot of celebrities think that way.
Because again, as I was saying, non-celebrities, even you all were at my house a few weeks ago and you met my neighbors.
Right.
As I'm talking to my neighbors, he is saying mine. She is saying ours. You know what I'm saying? Uh-huh. So it happens regardless.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? People will have that mindset that they've accomplished something, but they forget they had a team effort.
Yeah, I
so
think it's a
mine,
partnership,
mine,
right?
as opposed to hours. So that's how it goes.
Just because you're not bringing in the money doesn't mean you're not bringing someone else,
Exactly.
the support and stuff. So it's a toxic way to think like that.
Right.
That's-
So,
that's
but
not
in
a-
Robin Williams' case, it was his, his wife were helping him out with like he was running jokes past him. Even though one thing that was they didn't really touch in the documentary much was that Robin Williams, like there was like I guess like when he was doing stand up a lot, like in the early '80s and like the '70s, he was like kind of notorious for stealing jokes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like there was like in the book they were saying, and this isn't the first time I've heard this about. I remember John Witherspoon, the dad on like Friday, and
Right,
the
right.
Wayans brothers. He said that Robin Williams would steal jokes, and comedians would like come up to him in the comedy club, and they would say, "Hey, you stole my joke," and they would threaten to beat him up,
Wow.
and Robin Williams would cash him out for the joke.
Jesus.
Like he so in it, but then they were saying in the book sometimes he wouldn't even steal the joke, but he just became known as a guy that if you come up on Robin Williams and you tell him that he stole a joke from you, he would be like, "Oh, I did. Oh, okay. How much you want for it?"
Well, I know, like in the doc, he had another writer. Like he had like a skit / joke writer that he would collaborate with.
That's the thing is, you would like a lot of like Richard Pryor had like a lot of joke writers.
That's weird.
Yeah, like you like a lot of like Richard Pryor jokes. It was other people writing. That's like one like Kevin Hart, the biggest comedian in the world now. He has joke writers.
That's
Everybody
insane.
And like it's actually crazy. They said Kevin Hart will have his writers go to like open mic nights and they'll take jokes from smaller comedians.
Wow.
Like oh god, what's that Indian comic? He's like real
Aziz?
big. No, not Aziz. It's another.
Nanjiani?
No. I can't think of
Talking
it.
about
Russell Peters. Russell Peters.
Russell Peters.
Yeah, I think he's Indian, right?
Yeah,
I think his name is Russell Peters, and he was saying that the host of the Daily Show, Trevor Noah,
Yeah.
stole jokes from him.
So it's like a thing.
Well, yeah, but
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
where does it end? Where does it joke theft, and then where is it just like common thinking? Where I mean, how much information is out there? People,
Exactly.
Yeah,
and
this
eventually
guy.
someone's gonna hop on the same,
Oh yeah, okay.
yeah,
That's
that
what
guy.
I'm- yeah,
So
okay.
he was saying that Trevor Noah stole like a joke from him, and the weird thing is, like he was saying, like how do you figure out?
Right.
But he was saying that it's the same premise, but you just changed a couple things.
I mean,
So you
especially
stole
now
it.
in the age we're in now, where every piece of information is at our fingertips. Eventually, all the premises. I mean, eventually, when are we going to run out of different? Everything happens now.
Exactly.
Everybody has witnesses the same thing and can share that same
Exactly.
thing all
And the funny thing is, so Russell Peters said Trevor Noah stole a joke from him. Another female comedian came out and said Russell Peters stole a joke from her.
the time. Right? It's- yeah.
All right. But one other thing, they were saying like towards the end of Robin, like kind of when his career was kind of like on a downside, kind of like after, Jumanji and all this stuff. I think he did like a TV show with Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah, that was a few years ago. actually.
Yeah. And they were saying like he did that show was basically just for like a steady check.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just he just needed that steady money that they were saying like a lot like the movies he was doing movies
They all
towards the
sucked,
end,
yeah.
but they were like he was just doing it for the money. He just
Yeah.
needed the money, like
Exactly.
steady.
That's what they
money.
said, that he looked like, really just not himself and not and all that shit.
And like he was like, I knew I kind of like I figured, like if you came up in the 70s, I would figure you'd do cocaine or something.
yeah,
and they said
of
he was a big cokehead, but I didn't know like But then his second marriage kind of ended because he kind of relapsed. Started drinking again,
Right. Exactly.
and he hid it for a long time. And his second wife basically didn't trust him anymore, so they ended up getting divorced.
That's crazy. And then
Yeah.
he got married a third
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Then he ended up getting married a third time to this third wife, and I like in the book they were kind of saying that she was kind of. I guess before they even were married, he had like an open heart surgery.
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And his kids were saying like how she was kind of trying to take control in the hospital. And and they weren't really so like kind of in the book it kind of seemed like his third wife was kind of
A little
kind of
sketchy.
weak, a little sketchy. And if you saw like she wasn't even in the documentary.
And she was barely
only his
in.
first wife was actually in it.
She was in.
I thought they did show her in the documentary. I knew they
His
showed
thir-
her
they
wedding.
sold her, but I mean like
talking.
only his first wife actually interviewed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so
But what more could she say though? Because she married him toward the end of his life. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like what she's going to say is going to be.
I know she's done like interviews on like 2020 and stuff, describing like the leading up weeks and like how she found him and the last night and stuff like that. I know like she described like the last night he came in and said, "I love you," and like he was trying to be all secret and stuff, and then he went into the closet and hung himself.
Yeah, for some strange reason, the one thing that sticks out to me about that last night is she said that he offered to rub her feet and she turned him down, and then he went and got an iPad, went into like a second bedroom.
Got the iPad, went to the closet and killed himself.
No, like he went to it was actually actual bedroom. Really? Yeah, it was like a bedroom. He went to the bedroom. I guess it was like a room that was just like a spare room that he slept in. And she woke up the next morning, saw, the door was locked, so she figured he was just getting some rest. Some friends came over, and she told him, yeah, Robin's still asleep, and they kind of tried to wait for him. She went out to run errands, and the friends that were there, they, like, knocked on the door, and they didn't get an answer. They slipped a note under the door, nothing. So somebody else went outside and went around to look through the window. And the other person stayed in the house, and they were able to like pop the door open, and then they saw that he hung himself. And I remember when that kind of came out, it was like, "Fuck, man, Robin Williams killed himself." And then later on, you find out that his fucking brain was like deteriorating, and that he kind of because I remember at first they were saying it came out that he had Parkinson's. And they were kind of say that he killed himself because he knew he had Parkinson's.
Right, and then it comes out that he has that like dementia type or whatever that's called. Some like I forgot what type of dementia.
Like Louis.
Yeah, Louis Dykstra.
Yeah, Louis Dykstra.
Some type of dementia where basically his brain is lying to him type thing. But that's what does it all trace to? Does it trace to his that family background where he's been by himself and just always been a loner, just crazy? Is it the craziness? Is it all the drugs? Is it just the type of personality he was? Is it just
right? Is it like was it the coke that he was doing, the stuff that he was putting? Because from what they said, like they were saying in the book that Robin Williams like rode bikes with Lance Armstrong.
They said like he never stopped. Like he would go show to show to show.
Yeah, he would just keep going. Yeah, they were saying like he would like when he was on tour doing stand up. Yeah, he would do like a stand up for like an arena. Then he would leave from there, go to like a little comedy club.
And do like comedy clubs.
Yeah.
Like I said,
so
he
he
never wanted to go home.
Well, Kurt, I wouldn't say that's going home. I would say that's a guy that, maybe it's one of those things. Maybe he's, that depression kicks you. Maybe it's that thing you want to constantly be. Because, from what like comedians say, they say once you get people to laugh, it's like a drug.
It's a
you
drug,
keep wanting it. Actually, the director of a movie, 1 Hour Photo, he was in, which actually wasn't that bad. 1 Hour Photo was pretty good. Yeah, he was actually he said it in the documentary. He was saying that he would give him time to kind of like tell jokes during takes. And then, like, once people started laughing, he would kind of
loosen up.
Yeah, he would loosen up, and he would be better in the scene.
A performer,
right? But so now, Jim, I know you know. I'm not going to ask Kurt. I know you're familiar with Jim Belushi, right?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Jim.
John
Belushi.
John Belushi. Y'all wasn't born when he died. I was, so I can go ask him something. Yeah, go ahead and ask Jay. Go ahead and ask Jay.
I didn't realize. Yeah, John Belushi.
Yeah, John Belushi.
He was there the night, or he tried getting in contact with him the night.
I never knew it.
That's crazy.
I didn't know it. Yeah. Like that's the thing. Like in the book, it was actually kind of like went to like deeper detail in the book about like the night. So I guess supposedly. And this is like some crazy shit, right? They said supposedly somebody called Robin Williams and told him that Robert De Niro and John Belushi were looking for him.
Okay.
And they told him to come to like, I guess this hotel or whatever. So Robin Williams goes there, sees nobody.
Right.
He calls up. He talks to Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's like, yeah, no, I'm not trying to really kick it. No, I'm not trying to hang out.
I think they said like he was fucking two bitches at the time. There's two chicks in the room that didn't want to.
Hey, Robert De Niro loves him. He loves him a black woman.
Yeah, he does.
He loves a black woman. Right. Yeah. So he goes and he meets John Belushi. He goes up to the room, and it's like, I guess John Belushi's drug dealer is up there, some woman.
Okay.
And like they're doing some hard stuff. I guess it was like a mixture of heroin and cocaine.
Damn.
And I guess Robin Williams left, and John Belushi and the drug dealer lady, they both did that drug. It was like the mixture of cocaine and heroin. but John Belushi's the only one that died.
Jeez.
Yeah.
He probably was already lit before that last
he was like one of those nonstop dudes.
Right. So now in the book, they didn't really say that Robin Williams was doing heroin, but they definitely said he was doing a lot of cocaine.
Oh, for
He
sure.
did a lot of coke. That they were saying that in the book, his co-star Mindy, she said that sometimes he would come on set to the TV show and he hadn't slept. he was up all night. And he would get there and he'd just be tired.
That's crazy.
He'd just be tired because he was doing blow all night long. He's doing blow. He's doing stand up. He's hanging out with John Belushi. He's probably fucking hookers and shit, man.
Everything. Yeah. Living the life, by the way.
Look,
Living the life.
The crazy thing about the 70s is that 70s is they talk about like cocaine a lot, but every time we talk about cocaine, they always figure out a way to get hookers in there. Yeah, so it's like if you're doing cocaine, you're definitely doing cocaine with some hookers, right? Definitely some hookers.
They came together. Cocaine,
right?
Get a down bag and two hookers.
Right.
See, like, and in the end, maybe that's the price you got to pay for living the dream of
living to get that fame.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like Ric Flair.
Right of passage.
Like I watched that Ric Flair documentary on 30 for 30. Same fucking dude. He was living Ric Flair in the 80s. You cannot be more on top of the world. Being a comic in the 80s, in the comic scene, on top of the world, Robin Williams, everywhere you go, everyone loves you. You're doing coke, you're fucking everybody, you're doing everything. You're like the dude. Maybe the price to pay is Parkinson's and you kill yourself. I might have to weigh that out because that sounds fucking amazing. You are on top of the world.
Just stop doing coke, Jimmy.
At the perfect time to be on top of the world.
Jim, I'm with you on this because I'm seeing this. So you look at a guy like Michael J. Fox. Now, you can't tell me Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox put out Back to the Future, Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
Like Michael J. Fox was the man.
He was the dude of the 80s.
Right. And so you mean to tell me Michael J. Fox wasn't living the life then?
Oh, dude, he got down
right.
His hands still can't stop shaking.
And
but that's the price you pay.
Price you must pay.
Now I wonder now.
It's like with football, with CTE. Are you going to go and do you want to play football? Do you want to have the fame, the glory of fucking 5 years of football and then die 10 years or 20, 30 years early? Now think about it. Yeah, it's actually not bad.
Now, what I wonder is was Eddie Murphy's price of fame? Was it that he picked up a transvestite? Maybe that was the price he had to pay. Who knows? I don't know. Hey,
Eddie, I caught you stealing my jokes.
Right? You know what I mean? But Eddie Murphy was the man in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you on that. Oh yeah, Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor. Shit. But that's another. So Robin Williams, the guy he looked up to was Richard Pryor.
Oh, really?
And they talked about that a lot in the book, that he really looked up to Richard Pryor. That like the way that Richard Pryor would talk about like true shit that happened to him. Like Richard Pryor made a joke about him sucking a dick. Like it was like, and it's true shit.
Right? Didn't we talk about a couple months ago talking about Richard Pryor would fuck like a mailbox or something because he would get so fucked up?
The Marlon Brando thing. Yes. Yeah. So it's like, but you think like Richard Pryor, he's probably sad as shit. Richard Pryor's out here smoking fucking crack. He's doing coke and shit. Who knows? He's probably doing heroin. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like heroin's that bottle drug. Heroin's the dirt.
Taking some fucking poppers and fucking dudes and everything.
Right. He's fucking like Richard Pryor. He's probably out here having orgies like fucking dudes. It's like it's like it's like the ATM, ass to mouth. So he's like fucking, he's Richard Pryor just fucked Marlon Brando in the ass, and then fucking Barbara Streisand's laying right next to him, and Barbara Streisand done took Richard Pryor's doo-doo dick from Marlon Brando and put it in her mouth. It's disgusting.
That's not. They're living the dream.
Oh my God.
Richard Pryor, Marlon Brando, fucking Barbara Streisand, you're fucking in a dream.
But those are the prices you pay, especially in the 70s and 80s when nobody knew fucking coke could fucking destroy you.
And they're cutting it with every fucking thing, I'm sure.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, cause shit, like I think specifically in the book they said Robin Williams said you could go anywhere, and perfect analogy. He said you could go to a place like a club or something, and you know they would pay you to be there, and they would ask you, so what do you want to be paid in? You want to be paid in cash or coke?
Green or white?
Right. Yeah. Like what? What's your choice? What do you want? And I'm pretty sure some of them nights, Robin Williams was like, you know what? I'll take the coke.
I'll take the white. Actually, most of the nights, I'll take the white. Yeah, I'm cool.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he probably had like, you know, one of those little jar necklaces with the coke in it that's with little top has a spoon in it.
It got the long chain, the fucking
the
fingernail. You got the fingernail.
Right. Hey, you know what? And that's true because like now when I look at guys with long fingernails, like, I always wondered like, man, why do all these older guys have long pinky nails?
Exactly.
But it's because you know it's their scooper. You know, it's hard to find a little spoon to stick in your nose. You know.
Everybody don't have a dollar bill handy. Yeah, you need a scooper. It's not.
I spent all my dollar bills on
right. Come on, man. They're snorting coke with hundreds. Come on, man. This is the 70s and 80s, man.
I would like to know the good old days when they used to actually put coke in coke. You know what I'm saying? When people was first started Coca-Cola, when they put coke in the coke. Man, I know they was acting a fool. Where do you think all these brain diseases came from? They drinking coke and coke.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the thing. Like with all this shit now, there's years of we're able to see the effects of all this shit that we do to each other.
Right. Yeah.
Do it ourselves.
Yeah. It's like
back in the day, you were just fucking. It was the Wild West, man. You're smoking, you're snorting everything until your bridge of your nose is
don't
gone.
care, you know. Like fucking look at Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen's out here walking around with fucking HIV and shit. Right. Who knows how long Charlie Sheen's been walking around with HIV?
To pay.
And when Magic's gonna get AIDS?
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Magic's been having HIV for the last
Magic Johnson doesn't have HIV.
He drank a lot of orange juice.
What are you talking about?
Oh, his HIV.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, Magic Johnson's the only man that has the cure.
Okay.
He's the only man that now, okay, so this is like a crazy story. Now tell me, I might have told this story before, like on one of the earlier episodes. It was a story that I heard about Magic Johnson. And who was the president during that time? Kurt, I know you know.
Magic played for a while.
When he came out.
Yeah.
So supposedly what they were saying was the AIDS thing was such a big deal and people were getting it. Everybody was scared. And supposedly they needed a famous person to come out to show that you can live with it.
Right, I heard that story.
And supposedly they found Magic Johnson and they said, look, we're going to give you a shit ton of money.
Right.
All we need you to do is say you have it. And we'll take it. You'll be set for the rest of your life.
The spokesman, you beat AIDS,
right?
You're the hero.
Right. And Magic Johnson went and he took the deal. And now look at him.
Right, because Isaiah Thomas doesn't have it. Because I don't know if you all ever knew this.
Isaiah Thomas' brother had it, right?
No, what I'm about to say is.
Oh, sorry,
Isaiah
Kurt.
And Magic fucked.
No. But they actually exchanged kisses on the mouth every time.
Well, Kurt, Kurt.
When they played.
Kurt, first off,
Isaiah Thomas,
what the fuck, Kurt? Everybody knows you can't get AIDS from a kiss.
Saliva is saliva.
Kurt, my God.
Y'all keep believing this propaganda.
You're crazy, Kurt. Let me ask you this: Can she get pregnant if she's on top?
Yes.
Idiot. Dumb.
Yes, she can.
Gravity.
Yes, she can. I'm busting like a volcano.
Come on.
She can get pregnant while she's on top. Yeah.
Gravity.
Jesus Christ, Kurt. What are you, some type of amateur?
Gravity.
Come on, man. Jesus Christ, Kurt. Come on. But yeah, so I remember I heard that Magic Johnson, that's why now you look at Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson owns fucking, I remember like Magic Johnson owns Starbucks, fucking movie theaters.
Not what he owns. Magic Johnson's the healthiest man in the world.
He owns the Dodgers, the Lakers.
Right. You know what I mean? This motherfucker.
I forgot he owns the Dodgers until the other day.
Too.
They're like, yeah, Magic Johnson on top of the world. He gets LeBron. He has the Dodgers. I'm like, oh fuck!
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right
and he did all this with HIV.
And y'all just go down play the ice theaters.
The who?
The ice theater, inner city entertainment theaters. The Magic Johnson started 4 or 5 years, 6, 7 years ago. Y'all,
I've never been to it.
Are they still around?
It's a few of them still around.
Where are they at?
There's a couple that
in the hood.
Oh well, Kurt, that's the reason I don't know about it.
We're in the sticks, dude. There's farmland all around.
Yeah, Kurt, have you looked out my window here?
Saying, you know, y'all gonna give him the credit. Y'all gotta give him the credit for that too.
Oh, Kurt, I wasn't thinking about that. Didn't he own like Marcus Theater or something?
Yeah, like what? Should I give him credit for all the cars he's owned as well? Let's
just
go through everything.
Exactly. The magic, yes. The
magic
bus.
touch.
Yes, yes.
So now we kind of veered off the Magic. Now, what I wonder about Magic Johnson is, so now I know for a fact one of the kids that he had, I think Magic Johnson has like 3 kids. One of those kids he adopted. I know that for a fact. I think the daughter.
To your kids.
Yeah.
Now-
Because if you have sex with your wife,
Yes.
and she gets the AIDS, it
goes to the
usually
kid.
goes to the kid when she gets pregnant.
Is that how it goes? Like spread so fast and stuff.
It's like usually it came like from like I know it's one celebrity, she got it, but she had like she was given blood or something, or got some blood, and that's how she got it.
So
Because people weren't, because back in the day, people weren't telling,
where did AIDS come? Is it? Do you guys think it's true that there's like the AIDS monkey? Someone
that's the thing I've always heard. I always heard
Someone
that.
fucked the monkey.
Yeah, but I also did hear that it came from like a flight attendant. They went to like another country, and that's why they call it like the gay disease, because like a gay flight attendant went to another country, had sex, and then they brought it back.
How can you trace that? It's all. I
don't know.
What I think it was. I think it was. All right, guys, hear me out. The renegade Zeta Reptilians, or Reticulans, and the reptilian, the dudes who live under the earth.
Okay, that's Scientology.
God damn it, no, Greg.
sorry.
Catch up on your alien information.
sorry,
Jesus Christ. All right. I think that they introduced it as a way of population control. I think they influenced the government. They told the government to introduce it to the population. The New World Order, the world government. I think this is a little bit bigger than America.
Okay.
All right. I think that they introduced it to the world. And now the Rothschilds and the Pinkertons are the ones who are controlling the flow of AIDS medication. And that's why we can't get anybody cured. Now you got Africa swamped in fucking AIDS. We got that taken care of, guys.
Okay.
I think there's a whole fucking a big conspiracy
Jim,
with this
you know
shit.
what?
And now we're dealing with fucking Magic Johnson. Let's have the Illuminati just bring up all these goddamn spokesmodels for AIDS. Drink a bunch of orange juice and you're good, guys.
It could be like how Ronald Reagan put crack in the black neighborhood to keep the black man down.
That's what I'm saying. Dude. Keep you down there.
Kurt,
Kurt?
Kurt, what are you thinking about this?
I'm not an aficionado on conspiracies such as you two. I have no idea.
Well, Kurt, that's not a conspiracy. What are you talking about? This stuff has been
that's a fact.
proven. Yeah, that's proven. Ronald Reagan did that shit. Everybody knows that. Come on.
Snowfall.
Right.
Hey.
Okay, now back to Robin Williams. One thing that I did find very interesting. I didn't know Robin Williams and Billy Crystal were friends like this.
Yeah, they're buddies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't. But then I was also kind of angry because where's Whoopi Goldberg at? Where was Whoopi's like? What was her part in it? Whoopi Goldberg was right there on those little comedy benefits.
Yeah, she was. I wonder why she
She
turned
was a
it down.
comedian, and at that time, she was becoming, more popular in her acts.
Whoopi Goldberg,
So-
very underrated.
Yeah, very underrated.
She has the
comedian,
EGOT.
yes.
She does.
She has EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, and a Tony.
So that's where she came from.
No, I know what
It
I'm
was
just
her-
saying,
it
like,
was
why
her
wasn't
time.
she? Was she in the documentary?
No.
Yes. Yes, they had.
Did she have like a big? I mean, like, did they like do an interview with her?
No.
Because I saw David Letterman.
It was-
I saw Billy Crystal in it. I saw his oldest son was in it, but his other 2 kids weren't in it.
See, it was a quick flash with her in the very beginning.
Hmm.
It's like you got that quick flash before the credits roll. You know what I'm saying?
You're crazy.
So
It was-
she was in a quick flash, and then they had her in a good 5 minutes when they did that skit on stage, Billy, her, and Robin. But she was actually in it for a quick flash.
No, she wasn't.
See, that's how quick it was. And that's what I'm telling. That's what I'm saying.
quick it was.
That's how quick it was that Jimmy didn't even see it.
I don't
That's what
remember
I'm saying.
seeing it.
I saw it. It was lightning quick.
You got to be fast, like Kurt.
and then the credits came. You know what I'm saying? So
Jesus Christ!
What happened?
that's how fast it was.
No, what happened was the credits. It was actually really emotional. The credits came. Like he's like, you have that spark. He was doing a character or something.
man,
He's
yeah.
like, you got the spark of crazy.
You're right.
You can never lose that spark.
And
'Cause
that's
once
the
you
thing.
lose that spark, it's over. And
He
then
lost
credits.
that spot. He lost that.
So you're
spot.
saying before
No, I'm
that?
talking about, I'm talking. That's
We'll
the ending
be-
credits. I'm talking about the beginning credits.
Oh,
The
okay.
very
So
beginning.
now you're switching up a story.
No, when I say
'Cause-
credits,
Cause,
that's what I mean. I'm sorry, the intro.
Right,
I'm
okay, so
sorry.
now
I
we're
did say
flipping
credits.
this- now-
Credits usually is the end.
Yeah,
don't
now we're
remember.
flipping
The
the story.
I don't
introduction.
remember this part.
Do we have a
It was
dolphin
a
sound
quick
effect?
flash
We need a
introduction
flipper
of
sound
what-
effect right
for
now.
the introduction. The credits
Right.
are at the end. You are
I saw the
correct.
beginning as well, and it was not there. So now, what's the answer now?
You weren't paying attention.
Jesus Christ.
So
Wish I didn't see the
one thing they didn't talk about in the documentary they discussed in the book is that I didn't know some woman sued Robin Williams for I guess it was a woman he was cheating on his first wife with, and they had like an actual relationship, and she said that Robin Williams gave her STD, and she sued him. Yeah, and I think they eventually like settled out of court. It was like a big deal.
Yeah.
It was a big. See, I like documentaries like that because you
Right.
can, like, of course, I have no clue. When I think of Robin Williams, I think of the genie from Aladdin. I think of Jumanji. I think of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, you just think of the stereotypical.
Right. That's what I know him from.
Exactly.
That's what I know of Robin Williams.
I always know him as like his comedy is just really like vulgar. Like whenever I would go to like holiday parties as a kid, like all my great aunts or like my great uncles or the older people would be listening to like Robin Williams or like a Bob Saget, and they're just very, like,
I was just thinking about Bob Saget.
Like
I didn't
not
really
humor,
curse that much.
like humor for like older people. It would seem like his vibe was like it was never anything that I got. Or
I don't find Robin. I never found his stand up funny.
No,
I've never found him funny.
Like a lot of
his stand up, I believe, what made Robin successful. He was more animated.
Right.
People laughed at his animation more so than the jokes, and then when you put them together, then you go, "Oh, that's funny." Because what he's doing physically makes sense.
Sort of like Jim Carrey.
When you hear it.
Yeah, and you also got to think is up until that point there was no Robin Williams. So like we're looking through the lens of we know Robin Williams, we knew his movies, and then after we knew him, we went and looked at his. At least for you and me, Greg.
Right.
Like now we know he's a stand-up comedian after Jumanji and all that stuff.
Right.
For people who watched him come up, he was like the first ever really weird, crazy comedian type thing, and like there was like home videos of them like driving by in traffic and like making fun of the people driving by. A lot of those jokes, I was like. That's like normal observational humor. Like I get, like me and my buddies could be sitting there doing that shit.
Exactly.
But it's really funny because that was the first time really people would be recording themselves, like hollering at people in traffic, and like so that was the first time. So it was funny at the time, but now it's played out.
Now it's called road rage.
Right now you can go on YouTube and see everybody doing that shit.
Exactly.
But at that time, it was like that was like some revolution. So that's the way you gotta look through the lens. Like a lot of older comedy, like even like stuff from the 50s, 60s, like when culture and society was a lot more conservative. Like they're talking about like really stupid shit and just like stuff that right now, looking through the lens of the 21st century, it's like wow, that's lame as hell. But back then, the society, they're like on the fringe. They're saying stuff that's really hitting with
Just
people.
like when Dallas, when she said "bitch," the whole world stopped.
What's on now? What?
In
What?
Dallas,
Oh yeah.
The TV show?
the
Dallas.
TV show.
Oh,
When they
okay.
said "bitch," it's like the next day, the fucking whole newscast, everything from sun up to sundown was "bitch, bitch, bitch." She said "bitch," she said "bitch." It was crazy.
Really?
It was the end of the world.
Yeah, there
Because
was
she said "bitch" on TV.
There was like I remember I don't know, I watched a video on something, but it was breaking down like all like the big like groundbreaking moments in like TV and stuff, like when women would start wearing shorter like skirts on TV and like all the letters and stuff,
Or like
producers would get.
when Fonzie stopped racism. You guys ever saw that episode of Happy Days? Yeah.
I've seen it. I probably don't remember.
Yeah, it was like an episode of Happy
but I've
Days.
seen 'em.
There was like some black kid on there, and so I don't even really remember what happened. I remember they like the black kid went to court for something, and Fonzie came up there, and Fonzie was like, "Look, we can't be doing this," and everybody was like, "You know what, Fonz, you're right.
You're right, Fonz."
You're right." And Fonzie, he stopped racism.
Speaking of Happy Days, that's apparently where Robin Williams got
That's
that.
where he
got
started.
started.
Exactly.
One of the
Well, his
best
first
episodes
television
of
shows,
Happy
yeah.
Days ever.
I think it was really cool, like the story, like the main executive's kid. Like used to love Happy Days, and then Star Wars comes out, and now he
Right.
loves
He
loves
likes
spaceships
aliens.
and shit. So like the dad's like, why don't you watch Happy Days no more? I want aliens. So the dad's like, all right, we're writing a fucking alien into Happy Days,
Right.
and then Robin Williams gets picked out for his really cool.
And so, because I guess at that time, they like Happy Days was kind of like on the
down.
Of course.
side, and they needed. And I guess when Robin Williams came on there, it was kind of blew it up.
Because no one's ever seen anybody like that.
But one thing they in the book they talked about was Robin Williams. It was hard for him to do movies because he improvised a lot of stuff.
Right, yeah.
He improvised everything. Everything was improvised.
Because that's how he grew up.
Right.
Improv.
Right. So it was like they would give him a script. He wouldn't do anything in the script.
Yeah.
He would just be saying stuff.
That's cool though to be like creative like that, and I think that's like a lot of the draw for comedy and like improvisation. Like that's what he was like in his voiceover in the documentary is you're able to take this concept and make it your own and like grow it and make art and actually play with it a little bit. And that's what I think a lot of the draw.
That's what he wished for his son at his baptism, that his son to have creativity.
And when you're that craziness and you have that crazy creativity, like that outlet of stand-up comedy, man, that's fucking awesome.
I mean, another thing when you talked about the baptism, it's kind of crazy crazy to think that Robin Williams and Superman were friends. What
Man,
kind of crazy shit is
Christopher
that?
Reeve, right, exactly.
What kind of crazy shit is that?
Man,
Being all
you never-
awkward and
you never
corny.
thought about it.
I hope he has the will to follow his inner interests and shit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, come on, come on, Superman.
Aren't you gonna die soon?
But that actually, when I was a kid, when Christopher Reeve got paralyzed, that actually hurt my feelings.
Really, Superman.
I cried because that was Superman. I knew him as the man who turned the world around. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy thing is, Robin Williams and Superman, they were in school. They were in like acting school together.
right?
Really?
Yeah.
The Juilliard?
Yeah, they were like in acting school together. That's how they met. And they became like great friends. And they said that I guess when Christopher Reeves had his accident, Robin Williams and his wife, second wife at that time, they hopped on a plane, went straight to the hospital, and Robin Williams was like telling them jokes, and they were like, and they said that Robin Williams actually bought him like a painting because he couldn't move his head at all, so they put the painting right where he would look at that painting all
the
day.
time. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's cool.
yeah, it's crazy.
What's
And
a
I
really
guess
shitty painting
and
you can't. Like, was he able to communicate at that time? Like, what if it's a really shit painting?
I'm sure
And, like,
probably
all-
at that very beginning stage, I don't think he probably could.
Because like, what if it's a shitty painting and there's like one little part of it that's bothering you and you can't?
That's the
like,
thing.
you got
That's
OCD,
how I am.
And you're like, dude,
That's definitely how I am.
that's so wrong. Like, it's not round.
That's
it's
definitely
not even
how-
perfectly round. And
That's how I'm, like sometimes I'll just look at a spot somewhere and I'm just staring at it.
Dude,
and-
it's like, oh my god, I'm trying to look away and I keep seeing out the corner of my eye.
Say he should. He like I should have died. Basically,
Like he's
I don't
blinking.
want to watch this.
He's blinking like 7 times, like trying to communicate that I don't like there's a globe right there, there's a circle in the background, and it's not perfectly round, and it's bothering the shit out of him. Maybe Robin Williams is trying to be all nice, be all cool, help his friend Christopher Reeves out. He just fucking contributed to his demise and his downfall.
Right
and
now he's
tortured
going
the poor
crazy
guy.
because every time he closes his eyes, he just sees
he
that
just sees
spot.
that spot. He sees the
sees
fucking
that spot.
oblong circle in the background.
And yeah, fucking Robin Williams is over here doing bits from fucking Aladdin and shit in front of him. It's like, God damn it, man.
This sucks.
Right,
Let's
Jesus
go
Christ.
home.
All right, Robin Williams was like, yeah, man, so I just finished this movie called Patch Adams. So you want to take a look at it, man?
You know what? I'm gonna act it out for
Right,
you.
right. He brings in the tape. He's like, you know what? How you think about this? He keeps rewinding it and shit. Like, fuck. And it's a fucking VHS. So, it just takes a time. So, with VHS, it
back in the
rewinds. Then when you hit
track-
play, it kind of doesn't get on the spot you want.
Because you got to do the traction first.
Right.
You got to find that traction, then you may get on the spot. Then you got to rewind it again.
Right.
So, I know
So I'm pretty
exactly
sure.
what you're
And
talking
then now he's sitting here and he's like, fuck, Dean Cain is Superman now. What the fuck?
Maybe if I just hold my breath long enough, I'll die.
Right. What the
Yeah.
fuck? All right, fucking Dean Cain? Really? Dean Cain's taking my spot? It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But I also didn't know he was friends with Bobcat.
Go
Goldthwait. Yeah.
That dude's cool.
Bobcat is a friend with a whole lot of people we don't know.
He gets down, apparently.
Like, I didn't
Yeah,
know
he
these
gets down.
people were like, you wouldn't think Robin Williams would. I always thought Robin Williams was hanging out with like, big time actors. I didn't think he was like hanging around with Bobcat.
Well, I mean,
One time he was a big time actor.
they're all
He
comedians.
was just.
I know, but
It
that's
was
the
just
thing.
like
But-
Jimmy said.
But that's kind of like what I'm saying. I didn't
I'ma
look
put
at
you
Robin
on
Williams
hold.
as a comedian. I looked at Robin Williams as like an actor. You know what I mean? Like I only knew him from those movies,
Right.
The Bird
And then
Cage.
afterwards, it's like, oh shit, he's a comedian. That's how he got his start.
Like, wow.
But like Bobcat Goldthwait, like Steve Martin was on there. Like all those like.
Right.
Like he was friends with all the big time dudes from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s when it comes to the comedy world.
Right.
But like like the acting world, I don't know. It didn't seem like he had a lot of like the acting world friends. But yeah, like
It didn't seem like it, but that's who I thought.
No.
That's who I thought he was hanging out with.
Because what actually drew my interest also is when him and Steve, they was talking about that play that they were performing.
right, yeah.
And people basically were criticizing them because they were looking for him to be funny. He was being serious. You understand what I'm saying? So they started criticizing the play because they was expecting him to be a comedian at all times.
What they were mad about was they were trying to say, "Is this are you doing stand-up comedy, or are you doing,
That's what I'm
or
saying.
is this theater?"
Exactly. He's being a theatrical
Well, no,
actor.
Well, they were doing like something. They were trying to like improv it because like the call or Waiting for Godot, I think was the play.
Okay.
And apparently the play is like there's a general theme, but you can improvise and have different ways that you go through
Exactly.
it. So he would use his like they're both comedians, both improv guys.
Right.
So they would go at it as improv people. So they would play around and have fun with it.
Right.
And the theater audience is like, they're having too much fun. This needs to be
Exactly.
serious. Why isn't this theater?
They can't comprehend what's
This isn't
happening on
stand-up
stage.
comedy. This isn't some comedy club. You guys need to take
They
this seriously.
came to see one thing, but they're seeing something else, and they can't comprehend.
And I
it.
think it was pretty brilliant. Like having two, like fucking
Right.
improv guys take on like that type of subject in a theater setting. That's pretty cool.
Steve Martin, he's funny.
He's pretty
I
funny.
find him really funny.
He has.
I find him really funny.
He has his moments.
Yeah, I find him funny. But wow, no, I just lost that.
Lost
thought.
your thread
No,
about Steve
thanks.
Martin and
Thanks
how
a lot.
funny
Yeah,
it was.
once Steve Martin, I started thinking about like, was he in The Jerk?
Was it wasn't Steve Martin? I think I just saw him in Pink Panther with Beyonce.
What?
Jesus, that was
Wait a minute, what?
like 7 years ago, wasn't it?
It was
Wait,
on-
Steve Martin was in. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
It
What?
was on
Pink
HBO.
Panther.
I forgot about this movie. It's one of the-
Hamburger.
another one of those movies
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
so bad you never heard of it.
Yes.
It was
Hamburger.
Pink Panther,
Baggy.
and I always thought Beyonce was only in that Austin Powers movie.
No, she's been in quite a few movies.
She's been in
But
some
we can
things.
all agree Beyonce's not a good actor.
She's decent. She's just one of those actors.
She's eye candy.
She's not a good actor.
She was,
she's eye candy.
you could tell. You know, I think this is probably one of her last roles.
Panther. Wow.
But she was
I forgot they did.
Yeah,
right.
I forgot they brought that back.
yeah, he did 2 of them, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah.
Personally, I've seen him.
I've
I've seen them all.
He's done 2.
I've seen them all.
That's crazy.
But it's kind of like, but
Cheaper by the
then
dozen.
I like that
That's a
movie.
good-
I like
decent
that
movies.
movie. Yeah. But what I didn't realize is that Robin Williams was like nominated for a lot of Oscars.
Yeah, you got
Like,
like his series.
what?
Yeah, the end, yeah. With
the speech.
Yeah, with
With
Jack
Jack-
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson.
I didn't know. I didn't really
I didn't know either.
Like, he like Good Morning Vietnam. I think he was nominated. Some movie called The Fisher King with Jeff Bridges that I've never seen before. He was nominated for that.
Good Will Hunting, like all
Good Will
those
Hunting.
serious
That's the
roles.
one that he got. He got the Oscar with that.
I like. We have 1 Hour Photos, a really good one.
I like
Fisher
1 Hour Photo.
King, but again, I can't. I've seen so many movies I really can't remember, but I definitely seen The Fisher King.
Another movie that him and I think Al Pacino was that movie Insomnia. Ever seen
Yes,
that?
I've seen Insomnia as well, and again, I can't
No.
remember.
Yeah, so it's kind of like Robin Williams is like he's a murderer. And Al Pacino is a detective, but they come out. It's based in Alaska, and they had to find a movie where it's always dark all the time. So like Alaska gets that time where it's just dark. Yeah. So like Al Pacino was losing his mind because it's dark all the. No, he was losing his mind because the sun was out. So he's like he's like putting shit over the windows.
Exactly. He put the shades down, but
Right.
it still wasn't dark enough. So
Right.
he's trying to put
Right,
curtains up
and
everything.
fucking and Robin Williams is calling him on the phone and like playing a cat and mouse game with him. It's like a crazy. It's not a good movie,
I'll have to watch
but
that.
it's just.
It's got powerhouses. So I gotta watch that. So
Well, you
Al
know what?
Pacino?
So so this is the thing. This is my thing about Al Pacino. Does Al Pacino really have those many good movies?
Heat. I want to see Serpico.
I mean, if we're going off a percentage, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it's
the percentage of movies you've been in. How many are actually good?
I think it goes to the lens that we're looking because the movies now is catered to a real short attention span for the audience. Like scenes can't draw out; has to be real quick, 90 minutes.
Yeah.
If you look at older movies, 80s, 70s, movies were a lot longer. Shit got set up a lot differently,
Exactly.
and the lens that people would judge movies were a lot different than they are now. So like it all depends. Like if like the Serpico, like back then might have been awesome.
Raging Bull.
Right.
All these movies.
Deer Hunter. I went and watched Deer Hunter,
Exactly.
and I was like, Deer Hunter. I heard it was so
Did
good.
I say Robert De Niro?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Robert De Niro is a really good actor. I was talking about Al Pacino. So
Or no,
Al
Al Pacino.
Al
I think
Pacino.
we
Al Pacino, I don't think he's really good.
He-
were talking about Al Pacino.
Al Pacino has his moment. He
I mean,
he
like
does,
percentage wise.
percentage wise. But like Jimmy said, it's about when these movies were made because our
Right.
attention spans are being taken by other things now.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the days, Al Pacino made a whole lot of adequate
Good movies.
Scarface.
Right.
He made like I said, I can't even remember.
The Godfather. He was in The Godfather.
He's in
as
The
well.
Godfather, several of
Heat.
the Godfathers.
He was more like mid '90s.
Exactly. So at that time, he made Miracles, Any Given Sunday. He made a character.
Any Given Sunday was good.
He made that character.
But let me ask you a
know what I'm
question:
saying?
Was Any Given Sunday really good because of Al Pacino, or was it that good because LL Cool J played a great role?
I think Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx.
Jamie Foxx
Jamie
was
Foxx
good
is
to
there,
that.
but I believe Al Pacino.
Cameron
I
Diaz.
believe I watched it
He
because
did
of Al
a
Pacino.
really
That was
good job.
prime- that was
He did a
prime
really good
Cameron
job at
Diaz.
selling, like in that movie, like a really grizzled, old, like
Right.
bitter football coach,
Exactly.
Kind of like
disillusioned
Bill
with the system.
Belichick is right now.
And the problem
Yeah,
is,
right.
and the problem is now, I want to watch Paterno, but I don't want to watch
seen it.
Paterno because I know what
I've
it's
seen it.
about.
Right, I've seen it too. I've
seen it.
The thing
Y'all
is,
seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
as,
Didn't like
as a
it.
sports
Didn't
fan,
like it?
as
Okay.
as a Big Ten guy coming up, I always like I loved football coming up, and like going to like the football schools that I went to, like I always knew about Joe Paterno, and I would always watch Big Ten football. And Joe Paterno had like this real like iconic mystique about him.
Of course,
he was
yeah.
like
From
the
the stories,
dude, like
yeah.
this fucking. There's statues of the dude. He's a legend.
A legend.
And then after all this stuff happens, it just sucks how, and that's depressing for me to watch
Yes,
that.
exactly. And that's why I'm saying I don't want to watch. I want to watch it because Al is the character, but I don't want to watch
That's
it.
the
'cause
crazy
I know
thing.
what it
I
is.
like
I know
watching
what it is.
movies like
he
that.
was in Kevorkian. He did a pretty decent job in that Kevorkian.
I remember that movie too.
Yes, he did.
So he's been in some shit.
Yeah, but I mean, like he's been in a lot of movies.
Yeah.
But
your percentage
I'm
of
saying
the movies
if we're talking about the good
and
movies
relation.
Right.
against the bad
apples.
movies, I'm pretty sure Al
But you know what,
Pacino's
dude?
probably sitting at like
I'm gonna
20
be
or 30
honest.
And,
percent.
and that's the other thing you got to understand. Pacino was making. Al was making movies before we were born, so
Right.
we don't know. the
But I'm adding,
percentage.
but no, I'm adding those in though. I mean, if you
Okay,
take
you add
the
shit those
whole
in?
spectrum,
Like for
Okay.
me, there's certain dudes from certain eras that I would just put like Stallone, fucking Pacino, De Niro, Schwarzenegger, like all the big heads from 80s and 90s.
Exactly. 70s,
You could put any
80s, 90s.
70s for me is a little getting there.
And that's what I'm telling you.
But, like,
Al was in the 70s.
Right, so it all depends on what your attention span was, or what when you saw the movie. But like for me, like mid '80s, like to fucking late '90s, you could put anything on with like the few core actors of
Yes,
that time.
of that time.
And I could be like, dude, whatever, just put it on
so
in the background, whatever. I'm cool with it.
who's better, De Niro or Pacino?
I don't know, I think they're on the same level, pretty much.
Honestly,
I'm
I would
going
say-
De Niro,
Honestly,
man.
I would go De Niro.
We missed
be
fucking
honest with you.
Casino, by the way, guys.
That's De Niro.
De Niro.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
De Niro. Yeah.
I'm thinking
That's
Joe
De Niro.
Pesci. Fucking, we missed Casino for fucking Robert De Niro. That's a great.
Yeah,
movie.
That's
De
De
Niro.
Niro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But you got to think, De Niro had this kind of resurgence with the Meet the Parents thing.
Yeah,
So
that
he
was the
kind of became
showed
like
his
this
comedic side.
comedian
Yeah.
kind of guy,
Yeah.
you know.
Very
But maybe he's a
self-aware.
comedian because he was hanging out with Robin Williams doing blow with him and John
second
Belushi.
this whole time. He
He's
was
doing hookers.
Yeah, fucking hookers
Don't
doing
forget the
blow,
hookers.
you know, doing speedballs and
Hey,
shit.
man.
You know what I
He
mean?
was living the life. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of like in Pulp Fiction when John Travolta had to stab the chick in the
Exactly.
heart with the
Exactly.
adrenaline. Yeah.
Get that adrenaline shot.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, you know.
I think. All right, so I read a headline, and that's kind of what our culture is now. You just read the headline, you get the idea.
fuck that.
I read the headline.
I ain't
of
reading
some,
that whole
of,
story.
of, like a BuzzFeed article about Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
And something said like, I don't know if this is now or if this was when she was a partier. They would always have one of those like fentanyl hypodermic needles like they use in Pulp Fiction.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever if she would ever OD, they'd have it on hand to fucking get her back up and running. That shit's.
Yeah, it's crazy because just a couple days ago, Demi Lovato OD'd.
Did she?
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
it's
that's
been
maybe
in the
that's what
news.
it is.
Yeah, like real shit.
Again.
Like just a couple days ago,
just
she
read the
OD'd. Nah, like it's crazy. Like she's still alive. It was like
Damn it.
they said. Okay, so I would get to this. I would get to that, but it's like they were saying like a couple. I'm going through the Apple News or whatever.
Yeah.
It just says Demi Lovato she OD'd, and now I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck she OD
She's been
on?
so sober
You know?
for a while. Like she's been all about like being that healthy lifestyle and shit.
Then, well, it's crazy because she put out some song where she said she relapsed.
Right,
And
yeah.
then, now they're saying she OD'd. And I'm like, oh, fuck, what did she OD off of? Then they said heroin. And the moment they said heroin, I'm like, ew,
that's
like
dirty.
heroin's kind of like a disgusting drug.
That's like dirty.
It's like a disgusting drug. And then automatically, now I admit, I'm a sick person. I have a sick mind. The first thing I'm thinking is, okay, if she died, how long are they really how long is the public gonna mourn her? I
Right.
think about that. I think about if Jay-Z died right now,
Yeah, right.
how I know Jay-Z
How
is
many
gonna
news
get
cycles are we gonna
mourned
care?
for at least a year.
Oh, I don't know, dude. How long did? All right, so what the news cycle? We get fed our information.
Right.
It'll last about a week until he gets buried.
Right.
It'll be the whole fanfare leading up to Jay-Z. That it will be on the news. It'll be something that you, especially on Vice and all the shit that
Right.
we watch, you would definitely hear about it. until the like he gets buried, and then the memorials, and then like a week and a half later, it's on to the next story.
But see, that,
Or what's going to happen is Trump's going to say something during the whole fucking thing, and then it'll be something else.
That's
how the fucking
4-5 is gonna come out
news
like
cycle
me and Jay-Z were friends.
No, not even that. Not even that. You know, it'll come out that Trump, you know, fucking had ties with North Korea, and you know, just something completely left field that's going to take, you know.
Because I remember when Michael Jackson died. I remember what I was doing, where I was at when Michael Jackson died. I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it, and I remember the rest of that year.
See, but
it was all fucking Jacko.
In reality, though, dude, if Jay-Z dies, who the fuck cares?
That's
Is
the
he
thing.
putting out new shit that matters?
Okay,
all the shit
maybe,
that everyone likes about Jay-Z is shit that he's already done.
Hey man, I'll admit to you, I don't like new Jay-Z. I've told you my Jay-Z that I like. You know, I like my Jay-Z selling
when Michael
drugs.
Jackson died, was there any prospect of Michael Jackson putting out good music in the next 20 years?
Yes.
There was no music.
Michael Jackson never stops putting out good music.
Unless
one song every 6 months.
Kurt, unless
Mike
he's on a Drake album.
Good movie. No, see, he will never be on the Drake album.
He was on a Drake album.
No.
Kurt, do you need to go back and listen to
No,
that episode?
what I'm about to say is Michael Jackson, if he was still alive and Drake called him and said, I got this beat, I want you to be on, Mike would hear that beat and say, fuck you. He's going in my career.
Kurt, wait a minute. So
He's
Michael
going
Jackson,
because he's dead. He has no argument.
wait, so you're telling me Michael Jackson would say, fuck you?
Yes.
That's ignorant.
Mike would say, no, I don't want to be on this bullshit album.
Mike would say, that's just so ignorant.
Michael Jackson.
That's so ignorant.
And now everybody knows
Blank.
Michael Jackson has a very deep voice.
Blank.
He has a very deep that whole child that light that was all for like. See, Michael Jackson came up in that weird time of celebrity where you kind of had to act a certain way.
Right.
Then when the cameras are off, then you go back to your dressing room.
Hey, bitch, give me my coat hanger.
Then you start doing coke and fucking hookers. You know, so
It's a package deal. It's a package deal.
Take the wig off, put the nose back on. Hey, what up, bro?
Right. It's kind of like I think like the story like Dirty Diana.
Yes.
He was like when he was explaining it, he's like, yeah, Dirty Diana. It's like, and he's like, he does like air quotes. He's like, what you guys might not know what this term is. It's like a deep celebrity thing, groupies. Like,
Right.
really,
Groupies.
really, Mike? Like, Mike, you've been like, you're that closed off. You don't think people know what groupies mean?
Mike said-
like, right? Like, come on, Mike.
Oh, man.
Everybody kind of knows what groupies are, man. Come on, you're not that closed off.
But Mike on his
wasn't that clever to be
deathbed actually was arguing with his attorney about being on Drake's album. I guarantee you. Mike would never
you don't know that.
agree to
Mike's
be
like,
on.
are you talking about that dude from Degrassi in the wheelchair? No, that's ignorant. I'm good.
That's ignorant.
Kurt, Michael Jackson showed up at Summer Jam with Jay-Z.
See, you keep proving me right every time. Jay-Z.
But that wasn't Jay. Like, that's not the Jay-Z we
That's
all
not-
know
that wasn't the
now.
real Jay-Z.
Right.
Exactly what I'm saying.
This,
That was the
this was
Jay-Z.
This is Jay-Z
A-pop,
wearing.
Jay-Z.
That's Jay-Z wearing Jersey. Like, this isn't,
did.
married to Beyonce. Beyonce's
No,
kind of keeping
no.
his career afloat.
Big
Right.
Pimp and Spending Cheese. That was the Jay-Z he was with. He was not with.
So you wouldn't say that Drake is that right now?
Not for Michael Jackson.
Yes, he is. Tell him, man, Drake is very
So
successful.
offensive over
Not
Michael
for
Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
Kurt. Okay, so see, Kurt, this is the thing I don't respect. Just last month, I asked Kurt. I said, Kurt, you like Drake? Kurt was like, I love fucking Drake
love him.
music. He was like, fuck, I love that shit.
Hotline
Bling.
Kurt's like, I love that fucking Hotline Bling shit.
I did.
And then
Until I heard his album.
I say, Kurt, you know what? Let's listen to this. Let's listen to this Drake album since you love him so much. We listen to it. Now all of a sudden, Kurt's like, nah, man, fucking Michael Jackson would never do it.
Blasphemy.
Man, you understand being turned around. You understand about people's decision making. See, that's a prime example of being brainwashed and the shepherd leading the sheep. Before I heard that album, I thought Drake would have been. I would have said, yeah, Michael, Tito, Jermaine, they all would have been on his album. Until I heard that fucking
Kurt.
album, hell fucking no.
Kurt, trust me,
Who's the one that just died?
Michael.
Joe Jackson died.
Joe?
Yeah, the daddy.
Oh, no, yeah.
Would he have been on?
But
He'd been whooping his
no,
ass.
Kurt, trust
He'd
me.
have been whooping Drake ass for that bullshit ass album.
Kurt.
Believe me, Joe Jackson would have got that ass.
Kurt, let me tell you something.
For that bullshit album.
the lasting Jackson brothers, so that's Marlon, Tito, Jermaine, and what's the other one?
I don't even know.
Jackie.
Jackie.
they would get on the Drake album right now for a cheese sandwich.
They would get on that fucking point. What they call it, the candy that you strip off the paper. What's the candy?
Fruit roll?
The fruit roll. They get on there for a fruit roll up. That's how thirsty they had. They get on there for a fruit roll up.
So, yeah.
I don't get hear nothing they say.
All right, so we're almost at an hour.
We're at
That
an
went by fast, man.
good
Talking
stuff.
about Robin Williams.
You don't want calculating time.
I'm looking, Kurt. You know,
Keep it consistent.
Kurt,
So
we gotta keep consistent.
you know
Kurt,
what?
nobody wants to. I can only deal with so much.
all
Kurt.
of our 7 listeners usually stay for about
Hey,
half
man,
an
we
hour.
have a lot of listeners, man.
All of our 7.
I
we're
got
big.
4
We're
and a
big.
half
We're
of
big in
business.
Jamaica, man.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Well, see what happens is all of our Jamaican
Hey,
friends
Ma.
they listen to about half hour, 45 minutes, and then like, all right, I think I'm getting there. And then by an hour,
Me brethren.
you gotta have it done. Your brother.
Me brethren.
So
in
okay,
Jamaica.
what did you? Anything else you guys want to talk about Robin Williams? Anything you took away from the documentary that you didn't know? Or
I think it's really interesting to be crazy, to be interesting and creative. Don't lose your crazy. Stay crazy, people. Don't
Yeah.
be
like
normal.
Kurt?
You have to be. You have to have that mental capacity of like I said, in your life, period. Because if you let life get you down so much, it's going to take you. It's going to take you. It just got to the point where Robin couldn't take it no more. That's why he committed suicide. And being a person that contemplated suicidal thoughts, I'm going to be honest with you, when you're on the side of this situation, being in a position where no matter what you do, life takes you the opposite direction. That's where your suicide thoughts come from.
Right.
Because you trying to do everything you believe is right, but everything happens the opposite. A person such as myself who contemplated suicide, I can let you know this. When you want to think you're doing better in life or trying to fulfill things or trying to meet person or another person's expectations, takes you to a thought process that you will never succeed or you will never be able to accomplish anything. So why are you here?
So what? You gotta be happy with yourself.
You can't be happy with yourself unless you can make somebody else happy.
I got you. So make someone else happy.
And if you can't do that, you no longer have a purpose.
Ooh, and he couldn't make anyone else happy.
And he felt, and many others feel the same way. There's nothing they can do
Nothing to contribute.
to contribute. Why am I here?
Well, also suicide prevention hotline 1-800 don't
call
kill
that
yourself.
shit. Yeah, don't do that. You know, like even though I've told many people to kill themselves, I was bullshit.
We were
You know,
bullshitting.
I was bullshitting when I said that shit.
Except you,
But,
Terry.
yeah.
We mean you, Terry. Kill yourself.
Yeah,
You know who I'm talking
and
to.
microtransaction.
Especially you, Michael.
Who are these people?
You know- they're listening. You know, fucking
Okay.
Terry. You know I'm talking
But
to you.
one thing,
Do it, pussy.
one thing that was in the book that they said was like towards the end, Robin Williams, his new wife, she kind of thought, I guess he met her like in rehab, and she kind of felt that going to rehab would fix everything.
Right.
And so he's going to rehab, and he's not drinking, he's not doing any drugs. He's just going to rehab just to go. And
Just satisfy
Right.
someone
girl.
else's
Right.
needs. Yes.
And I, you know, it's fucked up, man. You know, like for a person that you know sees a therapist, you know, that shit comes in handy, man.
Yeah,
you know,
depends.
but the thing is, when you hold, like I'm one of those people, I can hold a lot of shit, and I'll just hold it in, and then eventually the shit's gonna come out.
Yeah.
And when I look at a guy like Robin Williams, a guy that you would think, you know, he has all this money, you know, probably has a fucking vineyard somewhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? He has a fucking Bugatti and shit, and he done ripped all the goddamn original, the stock seats out, and he done put fucking red leather in them bitches. You know, like Robin Williams, to me, I'm looking at him like, oh man, this dude's living a life. But the thing is, me and him are probably dealing with the exact same problems, the exact same insecurities. No matter how much money you got the same
You still got human
insecurities.
issues.
So it's like, you know, if you got $100 million, there's always going to be that motherfucker that's got 200 million and he's shitting on you, and now you're insecure about that.
Exactly.
We all deal with the same things. It's just, you know, there's different levels to it. There's different levels, but it's all the same. It's all in the same. It's all rooted the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All
And-
human beings with human emotions.
Right. And, you know, you look at a guy like Robin Williams, and like Billy Crystal was saying that, you know, when they kind of met, like the last time, he said that Robin looked kind of frail and sick, and, you know, Robin kept calling him saying that he loved him and stuff. And that's one of those things where he was probably calling out for help.
Yes,
but
he
the
was.
thing is, he didn't want to ask for it.
Right.
No.
You know what I mean? And it's kind of, I'm pretty sure Billy Crystal sits there sometimes and he's like, man, maybe I should have just called him and
should've
kind
done
of talked to him.
Maybe I shouldn't have called him pal before I said bye. to
Right.
him.
You know what I mean?
If someone calls me pal or
Right.
bud, I
Right.
get angry.
Right, and you think about that with the third wife. That she thinks about that all the time. If only she would agree to the foot rub. You understand what I'm saying? Because if she
Wait a minute,
agreed
Kurt.
to the foot
Wait a minute,
rub,
Kurt. Wait, Kurt.
if she agreed
Right,
to the
right.
foot rub, he'd been rubbing her feet instead of hanging himself.
So, Kurt, what you're telling me is
Rub your lady's
that
feet.
one foot rub could have gave
never
Robin
know.
Williams one
Because
more
it could have
day.
gave him the attention that he was willing to give. See,
It would've taken
Robin
his
lived
mind.
on attention.
It would have taken his mind off of the whole. All right,
That's what he
one
lived
wants me.
on.
Nobody wants me. Nobody wants
No,
me. Nobody wants me.
exactly. That denial, that rejection took him to that room. You understand what I'm saying? If she just said, yes, I would enjoy a foot rub, he lived on that attention.
It's kind of that's one thing that I did think about though was like when you hear that like Robin Williams hung himself. I think they said like when they checked his body there was like some scars on his arm and stuff.
Ooh.
And
Probably wasn't self-mutilated.
yeah, the thing is, it's possibly one of the things where it's like, it's one. Actually, it was one thing in the book that they said that he thought about suicide, but he would talk himself out of it because he would be like, you don't have the balls to do it. You don't have the balls to
yeah.
kill yourself. You're a pussy. You don't have the balls to kill yourself.
Right.
You're not man enough to do it. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's like, it's just crazy. It's like, I don't like the word crazy because the thing is like you call stuff crazy you don't understand.
Yeah, right.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
And that's what
so,
it's for.
You know what I mean? Like it's
have
so
no
it's like a
other
bad
definition
thing. You know
for
what I mean?
it,
So if
right.
you say like, because I'm pretty sure some people would say like, man, Robin Williams killed himself. Was he crazy?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not like, no, he's not
People
crazy.
said I'm crazy.
You just don't
for painting
understand.
my truck.
Well, yeah, I think that's.
Well, Kurt.
Exactly.
Kurt.
You know what I'm saying?
Kurt.
Well, I think.
Kurt.
been called
Now,
crazy.
Kurt, I will say,
I think that brings.
I
back-
have called you crazy for painting
Yeah.
the truck.
Exactly. So that word can be, a whole wide world, a definition of anything. Crazy.
Yeah, well, this goes back to as human beings, we just kind of judge things by first view.
Yeah, if
going
you
back
don't
to
understand
our
it,
BuzzFeed articles, you look at the article, the name of the article, other than the actual article.
Yeah, instead of you
we
reading the meat of it.
We judge stuff by the 10-second video clips we see online. We judge stuff by what we hear from somebody or what we want to feel, and and I think the greater overall point is we need to take the time to understand what we're fucking bitching about.
It's kind of like a meat platter.
Uh,
It's like the meat looks great. You know what I mean when you're just looking at it.
Yeah.
But what they don't tell you is this fucking meat has been sitting out here for weeks,
all
and it's fucking
preservatives.
it's
And
fucking
it's human
disgusting.
meat.
Yeah.
Wow, Kurt. Okay,
Yeah, Kurt.
Jesus Christ, Kurt.
See?
All right, Kurt's getting hydrated. By the way, everyone, stay hydrated.
Yeah, stay hydrated,
exactly.
you guys.
Jesus turned to wine. So
Yeah,
he
all
knew
right.
what he was doing. I know what I'm doing.
All right, Kurt,
But
Jimmy.
see, I want to
Okay,
make one
okay.
last
All right,
comment
all right,
before,
all right.
as Jim had just stated about judgment. I am so tired of the people disrespecting this young lady that Jimmy G has supposedly went out with.
Oh, boy.
There was
Oh,
supposedly an adult film actress because this is how she chose
Wait,
to pay her
Kurt,
bills.
did you say supposedly adult film actress?
I've looked at
Listen,
the video. She's
definitely
for
an
sure.
adult
Okay,
film actress.
even if she is an adult film actress, I'm so tired of the
She's
disrespect.
talented.
She's great,
Yeah,
actually.
she's great.
I'm
I
so
didn't even
tired
know
of
about her.
disrespect.
So
Really?
I was gonna say, Jimmy, thank you.
Right, because Jimmy G didn't have any issue with it, so why should the world have an issue with it of what she done to pay her bills? This is how she pay her bills. See, the problem with people and these religious fanatics forget, a relationship is basically an unsigned agreement
Well, no.
of sexual and monetary
I think it's
disbursement.
We're a reactionary culture as human beings and in our society, and Jimmy G and this lady are on the TV for us. They're not somebody that I would say, like with Kurt. Like if that was you, Kurt, I'd be able to know more. I know you, Kurt. But if it's somebody, it's just a head. It's just another. They're somebody that I could project my feelings onto.
Okay. Right.
So if I'm really religious, I don't know them, but I get to, take out all my, beliefs and everything that I'm, hold dear to me, and I can say, well, that's wrong, and I don't know them. If I were to sit down with Jimmy G, and
You don't
we're just
realize
reactionary.
this woman. She's a mother. She has children.
Exactly.
You know.
Great mother.
And then my question is, would it be the same if Jimmy got his contract and decided he wanted to come out the closet?
What?
Huh?
What?
Would it have been the same if Jimmy got his contract
I mean, a lot
and
of
decided
loops
he
here.
wanted to come out of the closet and there was a man that he was on a date with? Would it be the same?
By the way, I've seen the videos.
Would it be the same?
It's not a man. Okay.
Would
It's
it
not
be
a
the
man.
same if she was 19 instead of 41 because they keep bringing up her age? Would it be the same if she was of a different race? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what she does to pay her bills.
Well,
People still to this day, doesn't want to admit that sex is one of the most prolific ways society survives.
Well,
Because even
Kurt-
in a regular relationship, people use sex as bribes.
Kurt, I can tell you
and
this
ways
right
to
now.
get
She's
things.
surviving.
She's surviving.
She's surviving.
But I'm so tired of the
she's taking a
disrespect,
lot.
man, that she's taking. Because Jimmy G, no matter what Jimmy G does, has nothing to do with what she does to pay her bills.
Right. She's taking a lot more in
Thing
disrespect
is,
too.
I don't
Take
think.
it, you know what I'm saying? And she can take it all. She can take it all.
Thing is, I don't think that I don't know if they're dating or not.
It
But,
doesn't
you know,
matter.
I'm pretty sure
It
it was
doesn't
like
matter.
a,
And that's what I'm
it was like a
saying.
fling.
It doesn't matter what she does to pay her bills either. It doesn't matter how old
You
she
know,
is. It
I
doesn't
just-
matter that he's around with her.
I recently just read a headline about an Instagram model that got evicted from her apartment because she was going to like the apartment, like the pool area,
Yeah.
and she was taking Instagram pictures, and they got her the fuck out of there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So I didn't get into the meat of the story, of course.
Right.
I just read the headline.
That's what
You know what I mean?
the
Kind of like Demi Lovato.
Yeah. I need to, by the way, on the way home, I'm about to be Googling that shit to see what happened.
With Demi Lovato.
Poor girl.
Yeah, she. Well, you know how they do it, man. They don't tell you Demi Lovato. They kind of say, well, we went to this area, and then they say, okay, look, well, Demi Lovato stays over there, and then they're like, yeah, we took a young lady around this age. They're like, man, Demi Lovato's around that age, and then it turns out, yeah, Demi Lovato fucking OD'd. What the fuck?
Like I said, man, you stop making these people out to more than what they ought to be. And the last but not least, went to my son's registration.
Okay.
Okay, Kurt.
People in America, in the world, there's a R after the B in library. It's not called library. I don't understand this shit. Why people keep saying, "Where's the library? Where's the library?" It's a brary in there.
Kurt, maybe
There's two R's in library.
Kurt, maybe the R is silent.
No. This consonant is not silent. This is not
I'm
Greece.
sure of this.
Library.
And you know
Please
what?
pronounce it correctly.
We're starting the kids off wrong. We're saying,
They're
hey,
starting them off wrong.
you need to go in there and read, but you can't read the fucking sign of where you're going.
It says library.
It says Brary. There's a big old R. You can
Big
see it.
R.
You could see it right after the B.
I don't understand this shit. It's like 4 or 5, and then see what was pissing me off. It was 4 or 5 mothers with their children asking where the library
Oh,
is.
that's why. There you go. We got idiots raising idiots.
Come on, man.
Welcome to the world we live in.
Big ass sign says Brary on it. You keep saying Barry. There's an R after the B. Congratulations.
All right, shout out to Barry Obama. Okay,
Retards,
There you go.
yep, leave it on that. Retards raising retards. Stay hydrated.